Hello everybody, welcome back to another amazing episode on Life with Mogs. I'm super excited to be filming this episode. As you may have noticed, last week I didn't drop a video because we had a wedding and it was a busy week for me, but I'm very happy to be right back at it, right? Today we're going to be talking about 5 things to look out for when you're choosing a partner. And why I want to talk about this is because I feel like when it comes to the Christian space, we always throw a lot of Christianese when it comes to picking a partner. Oh, God said this is my husband, or God said this is my wife. And then, in the bid to follow God's voice, which, sometimes I really ask, the person, or I ask myself internally, like, did you actually really hear God, or is this just what you want? So in the bid to follow the voice of God, we are ignoring a lot of red flags and we are just throwing caution to the wind, right? The fact that God has spoken something does not mean that he would not also confirm it through actions. And when I say actions, you have eyes to see. God has given us logic. Even people that are unbelievers are able to pick out partners from observing their character, from saying, okay, is this a good person? What is their moral compass when it comes to this, that, and that? So I want to go into this video so we can actually have a genuine conversation about this, especially for my Christian sisters, because I feel like I've heard a lot of stories where, the sisters are always ready to settle. Some, not all Christian sisters, but it seems like we're always ready to settle, especially when the guy is telling you, God said you're my wife, and you run with that without actually taking time out to ask yourself important questions that will be valuable in the marriage. And so we're going to get right into the video. Before we get into the video though, I wanted to take some time out to appreciate a special set of people. So if you happen to stumble on my page while you were just going through your timeline, I welcome you specially and I hope you like the kind of content I create. Here we talk about family, faith, lifestyle, and everything godly. It's a God-centered channel, so please subscribe if you like the kind of content I create. And for my returning viewers, thank you so much. I would not be here without your love and support. So as I said, as a believer, do not ignore the red flags because you heard a voice say, oh, this is your wife or this is your husband. Do not ignore the red flags because you have peace, right? Because even when you pray about something, God expects you to get confirmation. And a lot of times when it comes to choosing your partner, God has given us the ability to choose with him. Am I saying don't pray? No, I'm saying that you pray earnestly about it and let God guide you in your decision making. However, you also have a big part to play in choosing your partner because there is no the one. And I'm of that opinion. I believe that, there are multiple people on the face of the earth and there are multiple people that you can get married to. But it is your responsibility, like I said, with the guidance of God, to choose who will best fit into, that role of your spouse, depending on your assignments, depending on what you desire for yourself, and depending on what is compatible to you. Now we're going to get right into it. So what is the first thing to look out for when you're choosing a partner? I'd always say this: if you're a Christian, do not marry outside of your religion. And people will say, oh, well, love is love. If I love somebody, my love is going to be strong enough to fight anything, why can't I marry this person if I love them so much? And in my mind, I'm like, if you're a Christian, that means you're saying that you are committed to living a life that pleases God. And it means that God's design for marriage becomes your design for marriage. It means that God's blueprint becomes your blueprint because he is the one that determines how you live. And so when you are throwing caution to the wind and saying, oh my gosh, I love this person, of which this love thing, sometimes I'm like, like, it make us feel like, say, we know they love. Not only you love, are you the first person to love? So sometimes you can get so overwhelmed and so blinded by the love that we want to compromise. And so this is something that you should never compromise on. Another thing is because when you bring children into the picture, have you asked yourself, imagine daddy is a Muslim, my mom is a Christian. So daddy is saying, oh, we're going to the mosque. Mom is saying, we're going to pray. So while somebody is, making their prayers on the mat, the other person is praying in tongues, or the other person is doing NSPPD, or the other person is saying, oh, I'm going on a fast. Have you asked yourself that question? Sometimes you even have situations where you want to pray life is challenging. Sometimes life throws a curveball at you and you want to take time out to seek the face of God. You want to say, God, what are you saying concerning this? But your partner is of a different religion, so how would you pray, right? The Bible says do not be unequally yoked, right? And so it's very important that this is the basic foundation. If you're a Christian, you have no business marrying somebody that's of a different faith. And that's just what it is. I feel like it sounds harsh, but it needs to be said. Yes, sometimes you might get yourself in a place where, oh my gosh, I just like this person and I feel like this person is a good person. But if they're not Christian, man, you gotta exit, okay? What I say? Exit. God wants us to raise godly seeds. So God wants you to create a legacy where you are passing down Christ from generation to generation. And unfortunately, if you find yourself married to someone of a different religion, then it's going to be very challenging. Am I saying that there are people who have come out of, such homes that have not been able to thrive and have not been able to find God, or have not been able to go ahead and create other, successful families for themselves? Of course, they've been, but in my mind, I'm like, why would you want to take the hard route when there's an easy route? Okay, so like I said, if the person is not of the same faith and you're a Christian and the person is of a different religion, you gotta exit. You gotta go on to the next, move on to the next. All right, the second thing we're going to be looking out for is character. See, I'm one of those people that, if you're fine, you're fine boy, but for me, it's character over fineness, okay? Sexual attraction is important in marriage, don't get me wrong. If you're getting married to somebody, you have to be attracted to them, right? It has to be somebody that you look at and you be like, this boy fine, or this girl fine, or, they are your spec to an extent. However, by God's grace, I'm going to be 5 years in marriage this year, and I'm not by any means saying that, I'm an expert or I have all the wisdom. But from what I've learned, I've seen that, when it comes to attraction, there are things you can do to work on that, to build intimacy and to grow, together in what you guys desire, for one another, in how to please one another. However, what you cannot really teach is character. Okay? When I say character, I mean good behavior. I mean behaving in a way where you are treating other people with kindness, where you are treating other people with love. And sometimes you're dating somebody and then they treat you like the queen that you are. They're like calling you in the morning and serenading you with all these words. By the time you say, I don't like that, they're like, I'm so sorry. And they're putting their best foot forward. They are creating this facade and masking their true character. And then when you actually begin to observe how they treat other people, you see them for who they are. I remember this movie, I can't remember the name, but it was a Nigerian movie of this guy who was chasing this girl. And of course, he was pretending to be a good guy, pretending to be a church guy and whatever. And of course the girl was blinded. Now, when a guy has sweet mouth, he will tell you all the things. You're as beautiful as the sun and the moon. Without you, I can't breathe. Tell me I'm so super with no air. That kind of thing, right? And the girl was falling for the guy. Although she was still thinking, should I fall for him? Should I not? She was still trying to observe him, right? I remember this scene where they went out to a restaurant. And when they were in the restaurant, the guy ordered food. And then when the waiter came, the waiter was putting the food down and the water or juice just mistakenly spilled on the guy, and then he shouted and yelled and gave the guy a dirty slap. And then once he did that, the girl looked at him and was like, why would you do that? Blah, 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 blah. That was uncalled for and stuff. And then the guy goes on to say, I'm so sorry, babe, but this shirt was really expensive, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, the girl ended up still marrying the guy. And in my mind, I'm like, of course, he tried to explain it away. These are the issues. So when you're looking at someone's character, you have to know that, yes, they treat me well, but I want to see how they treat other people. People that also are less privileged, somebody who doesn't have as much money, or somebody who is not in the upper class. I want to see how they treat their family members, how they speak to others. One of the things that I remember somebody advising me was, when you're looking at someone or you're considering someone as a partner, also ask their friends important questions. So you want to just it's like a thing when you're investigating in Yoruba, they say Iwadi, right? You're going to find out about this person, not from them directly, but from people that know them, whether it's friends or extended family or people that they're neighbors, right? And so you can ask questions here. When they tell stories about the person, you can pick one or two things, okay? So when somebody shows a red flag, when someone is shouting at another person for no reason, or someone has anger issues, don't explain it away. Before you pick your partner, I feel like you need to overthink some things. And some people say, it's not good to be an overthinker. When it comes to choosing your partner, my sister, overthink. It is better to overthink than to underthink. And so if there's something that, rubs you off the wrong way, you got to address it. When there are things that come up with a person's character, don't explain it away, okay? The third thing is finances. What did I say? Finances. Money, 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 money. Money is so important, guys. When I tell you in marriage, most marriages, I don't know the percentage, but I've heard people say this, a lot of marriages end up failing because of what? Money. You want to know, does this person have debts, right? What debt does this person have? What is their spending habits like? Is this somebody who just wake up one morning and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy myself 5 designer outfits, I'm going to buy myself 5 designer shoes, even when they have just, $300 in their account? Is this somebody who's an impulsive buyer or spender? Is it someone who doesn't think about about the future, about savings, about retirement? What is their spending habit like? It's super important because you don't want to get married to somebody who doesn't have, like, I'm not going to say that you guys click 100% when it comes to finances, but who doesn't just have the fundamentals or the basics when it comes to your finances, when it comes to spending, when it comes to saving, right? Because it's going to be a big problem if you go and get married to somebody who is high maintenance, right? Like a woman who maybe is used to traveling, and who's maybe used to like a certain lifestyle, and you on the other hand, you are like from a humble background, you don't have that much money. You have to ask yourself, will I be able to afford this, right? Because they're used to that lifestyle, and you're in that place, you're in just your little place hustling and trying to just save your daily 2K, right? So it's very important to ask questions when it comes to debt as well. I remember talking to you guys about, the debt I had, which was $20,000, because I got into an accident with a car rental and I had to pay out of pocket. This was something that, I spoke to my boyfriend then, who's my husband now, about, and we were able to make a plan to pay it off together, right? If he decided that, this debt is too much for me and he wanted to walk away, it would have been painful, but I would have understood, because at the end of the day, you have to know what is your threshold and what are you willing to accommodate, okay? Don't just ignore these things. It's super important. The fourth thing I would say is family, okay? When you get married to somebody, especially in the African culture, you're going to get married to their family as well. If you are in the dating stage and the family members, when you go and visit your boyfriend, they're already like, the woman is already speaking her language and telling her son, I don't want you to marry from this tribe, or I don't want you to do this, or this girl, she don't even feel cook, or she's not sweeping, or she's not behaving like, and there's just a lot of animosity around, my dear. Just leave. Again, disclaimer, I know that there are people who have gone through all of this and they fought families, the families have fought back and they've won, and they're like, yes, at the end of the day, I have my husband and my children. Good for you. But remember, I'm like, I don't like hard things in life. I love convenience. I'm pretty sure there are other families out there that will love you, that would accept you for who you are, and who you're not gonna have to be sweating, pounding yam, washing their clothes, or they'll say, come on, I want to test you to see if you are wife material for my son. So when you come, wake up by 6 a.m. in the morning and then you sleep by 1 a.m. All those kind of nonsense, right? So you want to make sure that you're getting married into a family that, that would love you, that you're cordial with. Like, you don't have to be besties or whatever, but at least love you, respect you, and everything. Because I've seen situations where people, say, my dad said I should not get married to this person, but I'm going to get, as a matter of fact, I was watching I Said What I Said, right? And oh my God, that episode was so interesting. 2 women that, were divorced and they were pretty young, and one of the women was talking about how, the person she got married to, her dad, when her dad was asking her questions, she kept covering for the guy. She had asked questions from, I guess, one of like his neighbors, and they were like, oh, this guy, he likes poverty, and he's very lazy, and she didn't take what they said seriously, right? And when her dad would ask her, what does he do, she was covering him up, and she ended up getting married to a guy who was not able to provide for them, so much so that she lost her baby. Her baby died in her womb, and when her baby died in her womb, they didn't have enough money to evacuate and everything, so the baby actually now started like disintegrating in her womb, and she now even had sepsis because of it, right? So I'm saying this to say that at the end of the day, family is so important. You need to be honest with yourself. And when I say family, I'm also saying that do not hide this person from your family. Do not present them to be what they're not, because your mother, your father, they have wisdom. They've been there. They've probably been married for 25 years, 20 years. Some people, their parents got married and, got divorced, unfortunately. And so they still have wisdom and things to teach you. So be upfront about it, okay? Make sure that you know the family that you're entering. Make sure that the person that's also coming into your family, you are opening them up to say, oh, mom, this person, this is what it is, or this is who he is. Or so if you know that the family is treating you badly and you cannot accept them, my dear, what did I say? Exit. So I promise you, there's always a family out there that would love you. There's always a family out there that would take you as their own. Okay? So don't go and settle for a family that will be fighting you every day. World War III, we're boxing, we're punching. They're always coming in family meeting over your head. Make sure you observe. Also you want to see with this whole family thing, how does the guy hold his family? There's some people or some women or some men who they would pick their family over their spouses, and that sucks. Trust me when I tell you, that really sucks. You also want someone who respects and loves his family, but you want to know that this person, if push comes to shove, they will protect you, right? They would also like present you in such a way that their family will not disrespect you. It's super, super important. So I'm not saying anybody is perfect, or no family is perfect. Even my family isn't perfect. But I'm saying that if there's a lot of hostility and it's very toxic, my dear, vamos on to the next. There's another family out there that will love you for you. And finally, the last thing on the list, last but not the least, is children. Okay, does your partner want children? I've seen where people are so delulu about a lot of things, where they feel like somebody doesn't want kids and they would pray and fast so that they can convince them that they now want kids. I feel like marriage is already complicated on its own. I feel like even when two people have level heads, two people are of the same faith, and two people are, good people, and they come together, they still have issues. Why complicate it? If you as a person, you want children, right? And you're dating someone that doesn't want children, why would you do that? Do you know what I mean? Like, to what end? So you have to ask, do you want children? How do you want to raise the children? What's their ideology on raising children? Are these the people who feel like, they want to do gentle parenting? Not like there's anything wrong with gentle parenting, because if they try gentle parent, or is it somebody who feels like, they want to do Nigerian style parenting? You know what I'm saying? So ask important questions. How will we raise our children, right? It's very important, because at the end of the day, building a family is so important to a lot of people. It's important to me. So if I was dating someone who didn't want a child, I would not even bother myself. I cannot stress myself. In this life, what I wanted was to just go into a relationship where I know that to an extent we agree on the most important things. Of course, the little things we can disagree on here and there, because you're your own person, but the most important things you agree on them. So that's everything I have. I hope I've been able to, open your eyes to some important questions. Please, if you stay to the end, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Put it in the comment section. I want you guys, to drop a comment so we can talk in the comment section. Tell me what you think. What are the important things you think that people need to look out for when they're choosing a life partner or a spouse, right? Because sometimes when I hear some stories, I'm like, what were you guys talking about in the relationship? Is it good morning? How are you? Did you sleep well? What did you eat? Or were you actually asking the important questions, right? It's super important. So please, guys, let's take the views of this is important. I want a lot of people to get married and enjoy their marriages. And so this can be an eye-opener for someone. You never know. Like I said, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care and bye for now. Mwah.